Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Reality, and thank you very much. And thank you very much, Nessun Pizza Path, and also Fifth Avenue Alliance for sponsoring this event. This is our Transvisibility Series 2021, and we have two great special guests. We have several others who will be with us later in the evening. I think we've got some coming through slowly. We are going to be speaking about being visible, proactive, and productive as trans individuals. And I'm great to see some beautiful people in here that I know personally, and I've asked them to come in and have discussions. All of them I call my brothers because deep down inside they are my brothers. So we're going to go from, I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself, and you got a good 2 hours to do this, so you introduce yourself as best you may. So I'm going to ask Michael to go ahead and introduce yourself first, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Flex, thanks for having me. I really appreciate all the work that you, Fifth Avenue Alliance, does for our community. I'm Michael Shannon, and I am the founding pastor of Dynamic Faith Ministries. We started in 2019, and we had a wonderful and productive year. And I do plenty of work in the community. Now I have moved to Asheboro, so this is a different type of location. We're in the mountains, and visibility is really slim here just in general. So I'm trying to make roads and inroad into the community as best I can. The pandemic has not helped that situation. And like everybody else, we've had to try and transition to social media, to be our access into community. So I'm thankful for this time, but it has definitely been impacting and not always positive because as a community, we can be isolated enough as it is. So your title, the realness of it, has really been something that I personally have had to really take apart and really readjust how we do this work. So, that has been sort of the season last year, this year as well. It is my hope that next year will be a little bit different. and we can be even more visible. My church can be even more active in community as we are so spread out now with how social media can allow for, connectivity from anywhere. So I'm just hoping for a more in presence opportunities in 2022.
All right. And Dr. T, I always call you Dr. T because I can never pronounce your last name. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me too, myself, brother.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Dr. Tika Douthit. Douthit. It's I don't know, Black family here in this area. I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, born and raised, and I am an assistant professor and assistant director of bands at Winston-Salem State University. And I am 1 year and some change now in transition. And so I am grateful to be in the space that I am in. And as far as being visible, it just sort of is, because I am in education, I'm in higher ed, and I work at an HBCU. And there really just was nowhere to hide. So this work that I do is very important. I'm very grateful to be positioned. And just like Pastor Michael said, I want to co-sign that real hard about having to readjust. And although this pandemic has been tiresome and stressful, I am grateful for the space that it has created that has allowed for that 2020 vision, that perfect vision that we needed to see, how to readjust and make things more authentic in our experiences and doing the work that we were truly purposed to do, and doing it at a level that is impactful and meaningful. And so I feel like that those adjustments have been made. And as we are going into a new year, even more of that has been affirmed. And so I'm just grateful, for my space, and I'm grateful to be a part of this journey. So still trying to figure out who I am going to be called. But, for now, I use pieces of my government. And so Tika is fine. My doctorate really speaks to my specialization, which is flute and flute performance in higher education. And that's just what that is, because I love to play, and I play all genres. But I'm trained in classical, and I also play a bit of commercial R&B and hip hop. So that's kind of who I am in a nutshell. I'm a professor with a rock star vibe, and that's just kind of how I am. I'm very real, very present. I'm trayful all day, and it just is what it is. Educated, but full of Blackness, and grateful to be on this journey. Thanks, Flex, for having me.
No, thank you for being here. And my brother down there, Mr. Atcham Howard. I just got to say the whole name, because I just got to do that. Give us a little bit about who you are, why you're here, because we're going to share plenty with these people here. Unmute yourself.
How you doing, Flex? Thank you for allowing me to come on your panel. I'm very honored as well as humbled to be amongst all of these phenomenal brothers who I've been following for a while. I have history with, especially my brother Mike right there.
Yes.
He has been one of my spiritual leaders, and keeping me upheld when I need to, pulling my coat tail when I need my collar popped or whatever. I really appreciate him. And then of course my brother, I can't not leave him out. Jamal. We are also fraternal brothers, so I'm just humbled and honored to be amongst these people. I'm an advocate. I'm from Washington, a native of Washington, D.C. Now I reside in New Orleans. Visibility here is scarce, and it's a lot of layers to the reasons on why guys are stealth. I didn't realize until I came down here. Why a lot of guys want to be stealth. Um, but yeah, recently at my job, I was outed for being a trans man, working stealth, and somebody passed the videos around of me at work. So now I'm dealing with that and safeguard and make sure that I'm safe when I go to utilize the restrooms. Um, I'm on high alert right now. Basically, I believe like my saying is my life is always bigger and greater than me. So I have led the pathway of education, um, whether it was through my personal life when I was in DC, and now that I see that is something that is warranted here. Um, it's a lot of uneducated individuals. When they find out that you're trans, they try to gender you, um, and demean you in so many ways. And that's what I'm going through right now at work. So, yeah, I'm here as a leader, and I'm trying to still stand uh, positive, and because I can admit that I was in a dark space, kind of, sort of, because to me, I feel like um, it's up to us to tell our stories when we're ready to tell our stories.
Mhm.
And the individuals at my job are so transphobic and homophobic. When you hear stuff like that, you're like, whoa, you educate without them knowing. But however, now that they know, it's like a whole different animal. You a girl, yeah, just I had this one lady come up to me. Why didn't you tell us that you was a girl? You know how that made me feel. I
Oh,
haven't heard that phrase in
yes.
so long. So that took me to a space where I I remember when I first started transitioning and had to fight for people to use the proper pronouns and educating them, and I was trying to educate her, but at the same time I was getting frustrated and flustered and all kinds of stuff at the same time. So hopefully around during this panel, y'all can give me some enlightenment as well, and we can just empower one another.
That's right.
Educate.
And my brother from another mother, Jamal, it's amazing. We have been
Hey
up and down the
everyone.
road, man. So go ahead and introduce
Hey
yourself,
everyone. My name
Jamal.
is Jamal. I currently run a not-for-profit called Nesta Visa Path. What we do is we provide like security services and mental health, education, advisory, a few other things, but trying to really navigate it due to COVID. Within this year and last year, it's been pretty difficult um, staying visible as a trans male. But for me personally, one of the things that I've dealt with is kind of like depression. Sitting in the house too long is you know psychologically it can get to you. So for me, that's personally that's my visibility is trying to gear towards redirecting a lot of our mental health issues and of course working on that safety for our trans brothers and sisters. You muted, Flex.
And as you all know, I am Flex Jones. I am the executive director of affairs for Fifth Avenue Alliance and the founder as well. And many of you know me for a long journey. Many of these brothers here, I've been like an uncle, cousin, bigger brother to all of them. And it's to see their growth and the others in the community's growth has been awesome for me. Um, and so anyone need to know, look, just go to my Facebook page and figure out who I am. You know how I am. Uh, I've just been a long-term advocate in the LGBT and the transgender community, and my love for the community is so deep. And to bring this panel together and be asked to do this as well, I was willing to do so. But like I said in my video, I'm back with Realness and Reality. So you're going to see some more information regarding the community, good and positive, bad and good, just so that you understand we are human, we are people, we have lives, we do live. And my biggest concern with the transgender community is that we have our civil and we have our human rights. So that is why I stand up for the community and do the things I do, because we are human. And being a person of color, yes, I chose people of color on this panel for a reason. Being a person of color that's trans is a lot that I deal with on a daily basis, a daily basis. And the one thing that I deal with more than anything is being a man of color in the South, because I'm originally from the North. And my transition medically evolved in the South. So I saw the negativity that I had to face, that a lot of my brethren in the northern states or the western states really did not have to deal with. So here in the South, we have Southern brothers right now on this panel for a reason. We want to give that awareness that the South is a lot different than the North and the West. We deal with a lot, anything from the bottom of the Dixie, Mason-Dixie line. We deal with it. And even Atcham mentioned what he had to deal with, because he came from an area that was a little bit different than down there in the South. So we are going to share our experiences. Some of us might cry. We may make you cry. We might have our audience may cry, but we want you to understand, this is for you to understand who we are, to empower each other, to empower those that will be watching this as well. So we're going to dive in right now. And I just want everyone just to go around piece by piece and just give us a little synopsis of your narrative and the negativity that you face from family first.
Okay, I'll go first with this one.
Well,
Oh,
go ahead, Mike. I thought, okay. Well, I can speak for me. Growing up, I always noticed that I was different from everyone. I have two family members, biological, who have been supportive. Excuse me for the background noise. That have been supportive of me, from the first time that I started transitioning. Um, However, I was disowned and by my biological mother. We haven't spoken in about 30 years. And just so happened after my 50th birthday, when she found out that my fiance was throwing me a birthday party and that my great aunt was going to, because she has been that support for me through and through. I remember the first time when she said she couldn't pronounce Atcham at first, so she was like Ackham, and then she was like, "You my nephew, yeah, you're my special nephew." So that stuck with me to the core, and from her accepting me, she was able to talk to my uncle, who was totally against it as well. And by him having a son who is trans attracted, that made him more accepting of me. So it was like I got the backlash, I got everything, the black sheep of the family, all of that. Oh, you know he trans. Oh, you know he was a girl. All of that, when you go to the I hate to say it, but that was the only time that we have came together, was during funerals. Because after my great grandmother passed, who was like the matriarch of the family, everybody just went their separate ways, and everybody came together just during those times of funerals. But yeah, it's a family. It was really hard for them to accept who I am. I have a picture of one of my aunts we taking a picture at my uncle's funeral, and everybody else is looking at the camera, and she's looking at me like,
Oh
Oh,
man.
wow.
Wow.
and I
Wow.
and I keep that as a reminder that, you know, I come a long way. I can't allow anybody to take away me of being who I am. I can only be me. I've been me for years, and once I released and said that I was going to live for me, um, I found out that I was free. And when I felt free, that's when found out that my family was coming, was like, okay, how you doing, even though I got the stares or what have you. But you know, the family piece. If I feel it, I envy those people whose family just embrace them for everything that they are, who they are,
Yes.
with no
Mhm.
question.
Right.
Mhm.
But I don't have that narrative. You know, in the Black community, it's a taboo for us to be trans. In the
Yes.
Black
Oh, it
community,
is.
it's a taboo for us to be who we are. If you even, and then you're gonna be trans, and you dating or you with females, and then you end up dating trans women. Why you change?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then you have to educate them and let them know, well, in the trans community, we have a rainbow. And in that rainbow, you have you have your bisexual brothers, you have your gay brothers, you have your straight brothers, and you have your brothers that just are just free. You know, that's what I call it. But it's one of them things that education is always the key. Enlighten everybody. It's empowering and elevating folks, you know. And that family, I wish I did have that family like that. My family is small lived. It's only like I have like a few faithful um people in my family who really support me, who authentically support me. They not just there to tolerate me because I'm here. I'm your I'm your cousin, so yeah, we have to be around you. We have to. No, my aunt and her son, who I call my cousin, bro. He support me all around.
That's good.
And
That's good.
Jamal, I'm glad you did bring up that depression the piece, because that is one of those things that I dealt with, and sometimes I still deal with it. You know, that mental health piece in our community it is a piece. We
It's
are losing
detrimental.
too
It's
many.
detrimental. Yeah.
Yeah, we are losing too many
Uh-huh.
of our brothers by our own hands.
Hmm.
The
That's
anniversary of
true.
my son just passed. Blake Brockington.
Yeah. Blake was here in North Carolina. Is that the one that was in the,
Yep.
yeah. And I
And
will say he was
which
young. He was young. And I remember meeting Blake because I deal with the community here in North Carolina. And I remember meeting him. And when he passed, a lot of us in the Black community were very heartened by that. Even those that were cisgender that were helping him and supporting him. We felt like we did something wrong. We missed out something. We didn't give him
Yeah.
something of enough of. And when you talk about that now, I'm
Hmm.
sorry. When we talk about
and
losing
so
our brothers now, it makes me feel, because I do as much as I can, it makes me feel like I didn't do something. What did I miss? What could I have done differently? That's why I reach out to all of you every day most of the time. Because if something was to happen, I would ask myself, what did I not do to help my brother out? What did I not
and,
do? And
and what
yeah,
people what folks don't realize is, Blake was my son, my trans son, and I tried to have a hold on him like no other. I would talk to him. His brother Ovid, he was close with Ovid, and I felt the same way. When I found out about my son's death, I was pledging online by myself. And one thing I could not do was I was going to just drop line and just pick up and go to North Carolina. But the thought was, when I get to North Carolina, what am I going to help? How am I going to help him now? You know, and I felt his presence with me while I was online. And when I crossed over, I felt that he was like, okay, Pop, we made it. Now continue to do the work.
Yeah.
He was supposed to move to DC
Yeah, he was.
and live with me.
Wow.
And I talked to him. I was like, okay, son, when you ready, come on. You know, and he was like, okay, okay, Pop. And and 1 minute he's okay, next minute he's not. And just recently, I looked on his timeline, and I'm like, why didn't I notice this picture? That's why, and this is the reason why I say we as brothers need to stay connected, because we give telltale signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about to tell you what that picture was. It was a tattoo on his knee, and you know what it read? Die young.
Wow.
Die young.
Did he recently get that after, or was this before his passing?
He it was before his passing, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm saying he got it like a month or two.
Yeah, he got it. I already got a tattoo.
Yeah.
And I remember
And
that
A month or
somebody
two
telling
before
me,
his
yeah,
passing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was and the tattoo said die young. You know, I died all over again. I started
yes,
mourning all over again, because I was like, why didn't I pay attention to that tattoo?
Yeah.
Why didn't I just, and I was doing the same thing that Flex was doing. I could have done more. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And then my
Yeah.
fiance was like, no, that is not what everything happens for a reason.
yes,
You know, God took him away because he couldn't, because one thing we know, that God, as a minister, God gives us no more than what we can bear.
that's what the universe does. That's what the universe does.
So yeah, so that's one of the things we need to embrace our brothers, the ones that's alive. We need to give them our roses when they're alive now, give them homage while they're alive. And it doesn't cost anything to say, pick up the phone or text a brother that you haven't spoken to, or you might see their post. It's not normal. It's not normal, because a lot of us, we give you telltale signs when things are not normal.
Yeah,
Because everybody that you are connected with, you know their personalities, some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Give you telltale signs.
Mhm.
And as a person who tried to commit suicide when I was younger, as well as in my adult years, yeah, we give you telltale signs. It's just, I know that my life is bigger and greater than me. And that's why I'm still here. That's why I was not successful. There's more to the work that God wants me to do. The universe, or whatever your belief is, there's more to life that I have to accomplish, or there's someone out there that I have to touch in order for them to keep on living, or to be able to transition in the South here.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
There's a reason for me being here, and we just have to continue to fight the good fight.
right.
That's
I
right.
know. Yeah, and you talk about the South because I know we are scattered as brothers. A lot of us are we're going to talk about that stuff that a lot of us are doing. And we do it for a reason. And I understand it well. I'm just way out. I've always been wide. My mother will tell you I'm an open door. So, I don't tell everybody my business, but everybody kind of knows who I am. But, you know, it's amazing how we are close knit in our own way here in the South. We were so scattered. And a lot of times I reach out to a lot of the Southern brothers because we are scattered and we need to know there's somebody there. So I've always reached out. I mean, Michael, I've known Michael for years and we touch bases, and there's a funny story behind us. We found out that his first relationship, I already knew the person before because I dated that person. So that was kind of funny. And he was like, man, why didn't you tell me? I was like, well, man, I didn't know how to get in touch with you. You know, some of us have some stories and histories we can share with
That's right.
so, it's just like homies in the street, yo, man, you don't want to do that. I'm trying to tell you. And we
Oh my
talked and
God.
laughed about that, but that brought us closer to who we are.
Mhm.
And so being in the South is hard. And I understand when he went through it, it was hard because he felt like he's the only young Black trans man in that area. And realistically, if you really close your eyes and open, you might think he was, because there was no one his age to really for him to communicate with, to know. So, and then a lot of times we feel alone as trans men here in the South. I don't know about the North, don't know about the West, but I know here you feel like the only one in town. I know Tika, when you started, you knew me, but sometimes even being in the same area, because we're in the same area, we feel like we're the only guys.
Yeah.
And there are guys here, but it's like, where are they? Do they not need brotherhood? Do they not need commodity? Do they need someone to have a conversation with? Yes, our mates are great to have, but they're not trans men. They're
That's
not
right.
trans men. They don't
Right.
know what goes on inside here. You
Right.
talk about
And
suicide, I was one of them. You know,
yeah.
they don't know. You talk about family, I was one of them. So when I moved to the South, my mother's family was not very comforting about this transition. My father and his family and my northern family, oh, you're just, you okay, whatever. It was cool.
And
Thank
some
you.
of it I'm not really sure what it is, but maybe it's the stealth thing. Maybe it's the stealth thing. Maybe it's the fact that some folks just don't want to be in visible company, or aren't comfortable being in visible company because they are maintaining that stealth. So and I try not to judge or anything like that, but it is, I think one of the things that sort of separates us, even if it's unintentionally, you know, we know that our brothers are there. We know that they are around. We check in, we see them here and there across Facebook, but at times it's like, again, very scattered and quiet.
Mm. Yes,
Right.
yes.
Mhm.
Like
I think
like
I
right
think
now. Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead,
I
Mike.
don't want to.
I wanted to say I think it's something to really hone in on too with our transitions. So I'm from a area, from a culture where you don't say nothing about nothing if you're anything different than what your parents expect you to be. Okay.
Mhm.
And then it was further impacted because we were, religious people. And we were Seventh-day Adventists on top of that.
Mm.
So
Wow.
those were, impactful things. And I'm also from a culture that keeps secrets. Okay. Sometimes you didn't know that, your cousin was really your sister, or, these kind. So this was our surrounding. This is
That's the
our
South.
culture. And now I've been in the South now for 30 years, but I'm actually from the Midwest. So, but the cultures can be very similar when you are a person of color.
Yes.
Okay. So when I came to the South, I had a whole new mentality about simply being Black. Okay. My
Yeah.
Blackness was different in Cleveland, Ohio than it was in Charlotte.
Sure, you sure is. I got to
So,
clap on that one.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
So I didn't even realize that I didn't realize I was Black.
Exactly.
That's how I came from Jersey to North Carolina. I didn't realize I was.
No. I mean, and everything you did down here, when I came down here, I had a new black Volvo and the police were following me. people were looking at it like I was driving a Bentley. And I'm thinking, a whole bunch of folk got Volvos, in my hometown. What's wrong with these people? I drove a Chevy Citation that I almost had to push, I mean, you just get a better car. They thought I was dealing drugs, all kinds of stuff. And then there's this whole different lingo. Like I had never heard the word chaps, just a different way to communicate. And I saw the isolation then. So as I was traveling my own journey, I learned to be stealth before I even knew what stealth was.
Great.
I think I held up my transition because I knew how impactful it was going to be on my family when I was in a position at that time. I was same gender loving. That was impactful enough. Now to realize I'm not done, now, and I'm in the South with this thing, and I work for the county. Okay, I'm retired law enforcement. I'm a retired sergeant. So, the good old boys club was still very prevalent when I started there back in 1998. So
all of these things, cosign Michael,
yes,
all of these things in
yes,
academia and Black academia.
Yes. So if you were able to get in, you brought in this same culture mentality of let me be quiet, let me stay under the radar. I just want to keep my job. And at the same time, I'm having these inward anxieties about I'm something else. I'm not just same gender loving. I don't know what they call it. But, in my mind, I've been a little boy since I've been on earth.
Right.
So, and I started out living with my great grandparents. They don't care what you think you are. They just love you. But when I went to live with my parents and my mother's putting these lacy socks on me and patent leather shoes, I'm thinking she confused. So I'm hoping she talked to grandma so she can get this revelation and understand I'm a little boy and you need to change up some stuff.
Right.
So as you travel through things like that, and then, in my late 20s, I come to the South. What happened is I set my whole experience back another 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
When I got the job at the county, I get set back another 10 years. If it had not been for Bishop Tanya Rawls, she was pastor then, having an affirming church, I don't know if I would have been here, because it was getting so frustrating because what I was doing was constantly backpedaling. Backpedaling. And it was in the church, in an affirming space, that I saw a friend of mine who said, because when I met him, he was female. And he stands up in church one day and he says, we used to say I'm a beautiful creation of God. And he said, I'd like to say that I'm a handsome creation of God. And that's when I realized that's who I am. Okay. I still worked at the county and wasn't a damn thing I could do about it.
Right.
So, here I am. I'm connecting to my truth and I can't do anything about it. So I ended up retiring in 2013, and that gave me the freedom that I needed to finally step into the most authentic me that I knew. And that's when I started transitioning. I started transitioning at 50 years old. I started working at the Freedom Center for Social Justice. I could do advocacy out in the open. I didn't have to do it and hide. And, I'm in uniform. I can't be on TV or they'll fire me. I didn't have to go through any of that. So I was thankful to be free. But I think it was maybe a year into it is when Brock took his life. And it was so detrimental. My friends started coming to the house. I was married then, and they're trying to explain to my ex-wife who this person was to me, and that I'm going to be impacted and people need to be here. I don't need to find out any other kind of way. And I never will forget I'm coming downstairs and, I see a friend of mine coming through the door and I could tell right away, you just know that feeling. Something is wrong. And when they told me that, I felt just like y'all because Brock and Ovid were in the front seat of my car going to an event that I hosted with the Freedom Center, one of our last big trans events at the Hilton Hotel that we did every year through Bishop Rawls and the Freedom Center. And it's kind of like dealing with Monica Roberts being gone.
Mhm.
If I had known, if I could have known, you know, because they sat in the car and they talked to me for so long, you know, I would have hugged them more. I would have given them more words. I would have been more attentive. You know, the last time I hugged Monica, I was at the event in Texas. I can't even think of the name of it now.
B-Tech.
Yeah. And that was the first time I had gone. And just to see her, to see Lourdes, you know, I would have hugged her longer, you know. She was one of the first people that I'd ever seen give a keynote speech that was trans. You know, these people are so connected to our journeys. But I went through that same experience with Blake, and I still ask myself now, could we have done something different? But because he was in Charlotte with me, I actually know that, you know, Mecca, Beverly Moss was active in his life on a regular. I mean, she advocated for Blake. You know, I was a part of his mentorship. He had other people there. He had family there. So it's not like he didn't have support.
Right.
But I do remember him trying to go out to be a part of a fraternity. And when they found out that he was trans, they said no.
Mhm.
And
he was young.
You just
Yeah.
never know what level of rejection. It doesn't matter how much support you have.
Right.
You just never know what level of rejection is going to take you over the top.
Right.
And, you know, I'm with you, Flex. We have to continue to make sure that we reach out. And I'm also seeing this dynamic where there are people in our circles that don't necessarily understand how intentional we have to be about reaching out to each other. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't understand what we go through when we go to these annual events, and sometimes the people that were there last year are not there this year.
Right.
Okay. And that's not somebody, you know, it's not a thing like, you know, is somebody once removed from you. We are a piece of each other and we're connected with each other.
Asset. That's right. We're an asset to each other.
Yeah. So we are impacted when these people leave us, especially when it's tragic and especially when it's by their own hand. We take that hit and we feel that hit. So, you know, my brother Van Michael from Baltimore was visiting me some months back. And we laughed because we were right here in my kitchen and he had his phone, you know, ministering to people, connecting to people. And I was doing the same thing. And we're trying to visit and talk to each other. Right. This is like the second or third time we've seen each other in the last 10 years.
I remember when he came because he was trying to get with me that same weekend. And I said, we just have to do it another time because that's how important we are to each other because we know we impacted each other. And when we meet each other face to face, it's like my brother's home. You know, it's like I had to see my cousin. We are a family. We are a large, the Black trans community is a large family. And I understand why I see the ladies, they, you know, I call them ladies, they communicate all the time. They have their conversations. I envy that as a trans man because we don't have that every day. We don't get that every day. No, and it's hard to get that every day. It's hard. Yeah. So when I get a phone call from either of you or several others outside of this live, I get excited. I mean, even Jamal and I will call each other, laugh. It's just to have that connection of conversation is good for me because there are times that, and I think he can hear it in my voice and I can hear it in his voice. I've heard it in Tika's. Sometimes there's times that we just wanted to say, I give up, you know, but just to get that phone call is like, okay, I'm awake. You know, I'm back. I'm back to what I got to do because there were times where you're talking about triggering. There have been many triggers since I've been here. And I mean, before my top surgery, when a doctor tells me, well, we can't help you. And I'm like, well, you just gonna have to go somewhere else. We don't do that here. And I'm like, you got to have somebody in this building. Can you get somebody? And when he turned around and said, yes, I do, another doctor came in. I knew then, okay, there is something higher than myself. Because if I had left out of here, y'all probably wouldn't have saw me. But another
That's
doctor
it.
came in and talked to me because it was not my time. I know
That's
me
right.
better than you all know me. And I know there's
Mhm.
times that I just want to be like, you know what? I give up. I'm done. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this no more.
Yeah.
I've walked
And
away. I've tried to walk away from my
yes.
community many ways. I have. I've been lucky to not have family, but to have, because as many of you know, I'm part of the leather community. The leather community to hold me up during my transition,
Yeah.
to help me and guide me and hold my hand, because there are other trans folk of color in that community. So we've had that connection. But
That's
if
it.
I didn't have that community, that LGB, I'm gonna say it, the LGB, it was torment.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people,
That's why chosen family is so
yeah,
important.
yeah. So to have a group of people that were very acceptable of me within the LGBT community was it helped me get through what I need to get through. Because there were times that I was just like, I just give up. So,
Yeah.
and then to find my brother in, I was excited. I remember when you all remember this, when we had, what was it, Black Space, was Black, what is the name of it? Black Planet? Remember Action Black
Oh
Planet?
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
MySpace, when we all, and then I'm gonna go back in time, when we all met in those spaces to communicate. And then we had a conference here in North Carolina. Actually, you attended, and it was a lot of brothers came in from all over, and I was excited because I was part of that and I helped bring those brothers here, and to see all these faces that I've talked to on these MySpace, it was exciting for me because I said I'm not the only one. I'm not the
That's
only
right.
one. But it is
That's
funny because my story, a lot of you all know, have seen me, and those that don't know, I've been on the Murray Show. So many of you knew me as an example of we do exist. So when I met those that said, I know you, I was like, I don't know you. I never met you before. They're like, no, you've been on the TV show. And I was like, okay.
You look
But I don't,
familiar.
yeah,
yeah, no, right.
I don't know you, but okay. But for me to be able to be a presence, that was my purpose. Really, it was to tell everybody I was transgendering, because I knew a lot of people throughout my travels. But it allowed me to be that pathway for others that I could connect. And my thing was to connect with other people, other brothers. That was my purpose, to find other brothers to connect with, because I knew I wasn't the only one. Because my mother, in her mindset, this was a Caucasian thing to do. you know, and I laugh and I talk about, Caucasus Islands, but it's a Caucasian thing to do. And to her, she feels as if I was not raised in Jersey and raised in the South, my transition, my life would not be like it is today. And I told her, I said, no, I'd probably be a crackhead. I'd probably be a prostitute. I'd probably be dead by now because I've had to find my way by myself. And through therapy. Thank goodness for therapy. It's kept me afloat as well. We all need therapy.
That's
Yeah, we
right.
You
do.
need your spirituality, but you need therapy. And
You
in
do.
the Black and brown community, we know is just not thought of. It's just, the first thing they'll say is, no, you don't need that. Just go to church.
Yeah, just pray.
Go
Yeah,
pray.
that's another one of those
Pray it
cultural
away.
barriers. Yeah,
Pray it away.
that
That's right. You said it. I have
that
to pray it
it
away.
just kept us. Yeah, it kept us going backwards. It kept us going backwards. And now with this pandemic, and this is something that we have to acknowledge. With this pandemic, it has given folks an opportunity, I think, to see us, to understand us a little bit better. Or at least to be in a position where you cannot ignore us anymore. One is this pandemic has put you in a position to see what our lives look like, You know,
Yeah.
when people first started talking about being isolated, can't really go nowhere. If you cough, somebody thinks you have COVID. So you have to kind of stay once removed from people, this and this and that. And I simply stopped this one individual that was going down this line of things they were going through. I said, guess what? Welcome to my world. I've been living in a pandemic.
Yes.
If that's what you think a pandemic
Right.
feels like. And they said, you know, people are dying. I said, you know what? That happens in our community too.
Right.
So it was like, okay, now you see me. Now, welcome to my world.
Right.
I've been living in a pandemic for years,
Right.
you know. So I think this is giving people an opportunity to see us, especially the trans community. But also what I'm noticing is people will prey on the community as well, and you have to be careful, you know,
Yeah.
because for one, they have come to understand that we are vulnerable people. Okay, we don't necessarily have the supports and the loves that you know they have had, and they recognize that we're vulnerable in that way. But we are some of the most dedicated people, especially when it comes to volunteering or advocating, church spaces, faith spaces. You know, you get a bunch of us, we don't have a lot, but we'll be tithing that church and we'll support that pastor, you know. And when people realize that, you have to be so very careful who you invite into community. Right. Because, you know, I've seen this scenario now over the last maybe 15 years that people will begin to prey on our vulnerability, you know, or they want to come in and judge, you know, oh man, they're crazy. We ain't no different than nobody else, you know. Right. But they want to single us out as being this or being that. And it's like the title to that book that Reverend Hopkins wrote, Until You've Walked a Mile in My Shoes, you know, you don't get to judge. Right. You don't get to judge. We're no different than any other community. So, you know, that's some of the things that this pandemic, you know, has really brought forth for me.
Awesome. Jamal, you got anything to say?
I just had one question. Just what do you all feel as what we should do as a safety net for us as a Black trans community? Say, for instance, you know, domestic violence situations or depression issues. What safety net do you all feel that we should improve on in the community besides those issues?
As brothers, we have to be open and honest with our dialogue. I know for me, I was in a domestic violent relationship, and I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody, and it was mostly because of the shame. Because if you are what you call the dominant person in the relationship, they don't expect for the one who is feminine to be the attacker or the abuser.
Right.
And it's the same thing with cisgender individuals who go through that. Men do not talk about that. Like, we don't talk about I was sexually molested as a kid. We don't talk about that. That's what Mike said about the secrets that we had. That's in the city too. We have secrets in the city. We don't talk about the Black community in general have layers of secrets.
Right.
Including keeping our transition private.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. You better not tell nobody. We know, but don't you say nothing.
I knew this person was different. Because back then we didn't have words. We didn't have transgender. We didn't have anything. So the word transsexual came out, and that was a word that was used for sexual favors too. Right. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like the word transsexual, because it has so many layers to it. Now, some of the people, they embraced it, but no, I'm one of those people. Don't call me nigga.
Right.
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 because I know the history.
Exactly. I
I
know the
know the
history.
history. And
Right.
Yeah.
what we do as Black people, we always accommodate people by embracing these derogatory
Uh,
words, demeaning words
Hmm.
to uplift us. I know
Hmm.
they feel like that's a way of taking power, but I
Yeah.
feel like that a way of taking power is a way of educating
Hmm.
them. Why? Because they're erasing our history.
Hmm.
They're erasing, they whitewashing our history all together. So
Hmm.
right.
that's the reason why we need to continue to educate and elevate and tell our stories so that it will go on for decades and centuries to come.
That's right.
Um, but we have these secrets that even in the city, there's secrets all around in the Black
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
And we as trans men, we need to have that dialogue to be open and honest, to say, hey, I need help.
Mhm.
Hey, right now I'm having a moment.
Right.
I was in a dark space and I my brother, I called him. I said, I need to talk to you. I am in a very dark space right now.
Uh-huh.
And you know that it was more pride than anything.
Yeah.
It was more of
It wasn't
wondering
shame and self
how
pride. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, because when we say we need help, a lot of people don't believe us because we are strong leaders. We give that vibe, that vibrant vibe, like we got it all, but we
Yeah.
don't.
Right.
Vulnerability.
Outside, we're smiling.
Mhm.
Outside, we might be smiling,
That's
but on
it.
the
But
inside,
internally,
we
we
are
are
too.
hurting
We are
inside.
hurting.
Yeah.
We're
We
We
hurting
hurt.
hurting.
You know,
inside.
We
we
hurting.
got all these bumps and bruises and stuff like
Yep.
that. And
Yep.
I Jamal was talking about how we can safeguard ourselves. We need to keep contact. If you know you going out late, you need to let somebody know what's
Right.
going on.
Yes.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
um, somebody had put something in my drink. It was a day that I wanted to go out. Something in the back of my mind, it was saying, stay in the house. But the thing is, you like, I'm bored in the house. I
Yeah.
want to get out. And
Hmm.
then when something happened to you, which with me, I was sexually assaulted, but because I put something in my drink, they took advantage of me.
Hmm.
And we also, as brothers, when things bad happen, we don't deal with it. We
No, we don't.
we put it in a compartment
Hmm.
Yes.
and move it to the side like we
Yes.
Mhm.
moving
Hmm.
instead of dealing with it.
Yeah.
And my doctor would told me, she was like, if you would have came in within the 72-hour time frame, we could have gave you this pill. How was I supposed to know about this pill when nobody told me about this pill?
Right.
There you go.
How was I supposed to? And then on top of that, how do I get myself to get up, go to the doctor, and say, hey, I was sexually assaulted?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to have the proper tools as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Survivor tools.
Survivor
Hmm.
too. So,
Michael would tell you, I had to challenge myself. He challenged me really. Because at first I wasn't saying anything. I was just quiet about everything.
Hmm.
And he was like, you know what, brother? It's your time.
Hmm.
Bishop Rawls was like, you know what, son? It's your time. And then they had me do a workshop to talk about it. And that brought awareness to other guys within. And then from that, we had a conversation. We can't be ashamed of the things that we go through.
right.
Hmm.
Embrace them things so we can move on from it.
And
Talk
grow.
about it so we can
And
move
Hmm.
on from it. It's a process of moving on. But once you start communicating and getting off your chest,
Yeah. You're free.
it's
It
like a
frees you.
weight is being lifted off of your
Hmm.
shoulders.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
so true.
Jamal, I think it's something that we have to recognize too is the power of fluidity. Okay.
Right.
the power of fluidity. Now, in our trans experiences, for many of us, we have had fluid representation, fluid gender identities. There's been sections of fluidity in our sexual preferences. But what we do have to understand is there's going to be fluidity now all over the place. So what I mean by that is just because I came out to my mother back in 1998, I thought I had done everything. I thought I had done the biggest thing you could ever have to do. And then I had to end up coming out to her again in my trans experience. Mm-hmm. After I did that, and she wasn't really favorable with that. And she said, I love you, but you're going to have to go the rest of the, part of this journey by yourself. I was devastated because she was my best friend, but it gave me wings to fly. It gave me a purpose to stand. If I had to stand all by myself, I finally began to do it. So when I did that, now I'm in the South and now I'm retired. So now I'm going through things like figuring out how to go to the gym and work through that, situation, because now that's a whole different thing than when I used to go to the gym because I hadn't transitioned yet, and I was already having trouble in the ladies' locker room because they had called security on me a couple of times. So now I present fully as male, but am I safe in the male's locker room?
Right. You can't go to the women's locker room because they'll call you. There's a black man in the locker room.
Yeah, well, that's not an that's not an option. Then we had the law issue that came into effect. So this is just a situation where you have to recognize the fluidity in your experience. Just because I dealt with depression 10 years ago doesn't mean I won't deal with depression now. And these are things like Atcham was saying, it makes you have to have a more realistic narrative first with yourself, and that's the part that you have to understand with this fluidity. We're going to always be coming out. We're going to always be having to educate somebody. I know we're tired of doing it, but we're going to always have to do that. There's always somebody else that's going to need a little bit of an explanation about what this means, how not to use that particular word. And of course, we're exhausted, but we can't ever stop fighting the good fight of faith, and that's what this is.
About being proactive and productive, it's we're a beacon for someone else who's going to be following behind us. And that's one reason why I don't give up, because I know somebody needs to see me as an example and follow. Mm-hmm. Because if I was not to be here, where would Atcham be? Where would you be? Where would Dr. T be? Where would Jamal be? Y'all wouldn't have me. Mm-hmm. I feel like every little piece of me is with every piece of you, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And vice versa. We all have it in each other.
That's right. That's right.
I was going to just backtrack just a little bit and share, as far as, I guess, my family situation and negativity that I have experienced, it's very, very subtle. I think for my family, they just, kind of went through a period of adjustment. I have, in my journey, just like many of you guys, had been out and identified as lesbian since, late 90s. And so that was okay, and it was already a slippery slope for me just because I was in teaching, and teaching is a little bit different in that you're, dealing with public school, you're dealing with people's kids, and just a certain level of something is just already kind of taboo unless you're the PE teacher, right?
That's
so
right.
that when you can
better
be
speak
as
that truth.
Hard as a brick if you throwing a volleyball, you know what I'm saying? So, but I guess I kind of got lucky doing band. And so but I definitely know that I softened for those moments and hid and did the things because, it was instilled in me very early on about a career and being able to take care of yourself and provide. And so, but I too felt like some kind of little boy running around wrong. and just didn't know how on earth that was ever going to be a reality, or just it wasn't. And like in the 90s, growing up in the 80s and 90s, like so much sexuality was shunned, homosexuality was shunned.
Yeah.
And even if you were at school and you found out that somebody was gay or lesbian, it was don't talk to them. It was that understood isolation, that understood margin, that you just didn't deal with that, And so I learned to stuff and hide, and did that for quite some time until, I just really couldn't. And a lot of that was kind of happening for me as I matriculated into higher education. And so, that was probably the most vulnerable space because, even though I come from a tradition of PWI institutions where, you're allowed to be liberal and free and, all of those things, I matriculate into higher education thinking that it should be a free space and go land into the HBCU where it's really not quite.
That's
And then when you talk about that good old boy, that good old boy network, when we think about what we do as a profession across the nation, there is no, this ain't it. This ain't happening. We all the female people that are in that profession are traditionally female. And, I'm already some kind of an anomaly. And then now, what? So it's a lot to take in the culture, in the culture. And it's a lot to take in our campus culture, because I'm quite certain at this point, I'm probably the only trans professor on campus. And at least if there are others that I don't know of them, or maybe they're just in a different stage in their journey. But I know that it has just been different professionally, particularly so since I've come out. But I anticipated losing people. I'm grateful, that in my personal family, it hasn't been like a tragic severing anywhere. God has given me grace in that particular space, but there is this tug of war. There is this push and pull, particularly surrounding how I'm referred to, particularly pronouns. And, and I guess I'm not really helping the situation in that I'm still yet trying to land on a name as I'm working through that process. I guess it's kind of happening backwards. I don't know. I definitely know I'm going to keep this last name because I've done this work and I've had these degrees, and, I've earned that, I feel, in some ways, to extend that family name in this way. I've earned that. And so, but I'm also, trying to find something that is truly authentically going to land in my spirit, as I am a baby boy in this experience, but am in it. And very much having to do so in a broad and public kind of way. There's just no hiding it. There's no going to work and getting this freedom in therapy and then turning around and allowing yourself to just be she'd all day long in these meetings and in this, you know what I'm saying, and continue to have a space of peace. There is no way to do that and live in a duality. It just doesn't work. And so as much as I have loved my colleagues and some of the people that I have grown close to, love my family members, I have suppressed this thing for as long as I can do it with sanity. And I am not trying to make it personal against anyone. When you see these very boisterous, at first comical boundaries being created, but then, slightly aggressive, because I am just at a place. And it doesn't have anything to do with you. You just might have been the person that, or the second or third person today that has taken me there. and it's not personal. I can't always make it a thing with, you know, a person when I'm in line at the subway or, you know, trying to get a smoothie. But, you know, when we've had these conversations on numerous occasions, when I do actually make the declaration that this is true for me and that I'm moving forward, you know, and you give me these verbal affirmations and support. And then as I progress on these hormones and things really start changing, you know, you just can't seem to adjust, you know, like it's a game. It's really not. It's really not. And now you're becoming harmful to me in a way. So, but in 2021, we find very delicate and very pleasant ways of addressing those things up, especially in professions. You know, we learn how to use phrases like personality conflicts.
Yes.
We learn how to try to raise regular areas of challenge and manifest those into areas of incompetence. We are doing things that undermine folks when we have, you know, known them to be what they are. And then we, you know, find these areas of weaknesses and attack and undermine and want to disqualify us as people, as professional, as folks that are sane and in this experience. I'm here to tell you every day, all day, sane and in this experience. Know who I am, grounded, and simply not having it anymore. So it's just going to be something that it, you know, is going to be, it is what it is. But it doesn't make me any less of a professional. It doesn't make me any less knowledgeable in my subject area. It does not make me any less approachable and real.
Right. That's right. That's right.
I just am going to exert some boundaries.
Yeah.
And rather than some folks, I choose to do so verbally and very clearly and very directly. And I'm grateful for that, because one thing that I am is the same person in every room that you see me show up in. And I don't really know how it to be any other way. And so, you know, that constancy that I provide, I am praying that will be the common ground and the common thread that I will see my loved ones on the other end of this. But I'm also understanding that if I have to lose some people, that will have to be okay and well within my soul, because I feel very purposed in this journey. I feel very purposed in, you know, where I am in higher education. I'm grateful to be part of larger conversations of how we can help our community. I didn't even know that I could be useful and helpful in this conversation at such a young place in my journey, you know, and so I'm just grateful to be useful and to be used in this way and in this platform. And God had the right one, because I have a big mouth and I'm going to say the things. I don't care about your feelings. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. People hurt my feelings all the time. People say the things and do the things all the time to hurt my feelings. So, you know, this is, at the end of the day, this is not about feelings, but it is about a presentation of facts that have always just been overlooked. And so, but I'm going to speak my voice today. I'm going to speak it every day, you know, and I'm grateful to be in my experience. I'm grateful to be an advocate for young adults in education, and will always continue to be that, will always be a support to that, particularly in music education. And I will always say the right things and do the right things, you know, and always present as that professional that you have always known me to be. So I'm just grateful to be in this conversation today, you know, with you guys. And, you know, I have had experiences in that lesbian life that, you know, have given me a lot of insight as I have been a part of a affirming ministry. I have met a lot of the people, Lewis and Mecca, that y'all mentioned. Shannon, I knew a lot of people. I saw trans, you know, I would say probably about 10 years ago up close. And I knew as much as I felt that kindred, I just wasn't ready. Like I couldn't digest it really. But I knew that there was something that I felt that was very strong. And Minister Carl, you know, meeting people where I was like, I understand this is possible. The things that I dream about it are possible. But, you know, I just didn't have that boldness at that time, you know, and went through life, married, divorced, finished school, you know, tried to start a job and, you know, really be something and just continuously experience those missing pieces. I just missed them. So I'm just grateful to have, you know, taken that step forward, continue to journey and to continue to heal and to continue to just discover what this process allows. You know, like you, I'm just now 40, I'm 45 years old now. You know, I was starting therapy right before my 43rd birthday. And so, you know, late in the game, but definitely feeling like I'm in the game. And so I'm grateful and, you know, just excited to have some freedom, some real freedom.
Yes.
Some real peace, like for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
That's good, brother. Yes.
Yeah, because for me, being where I'm at, I want to say this: I'm that different guy. I'm that different brother. I'm not like most brothers. I didn't come from the lesbian world. I was a heterosexual, female-bodied individual. So my journey was a lot different, and I think my journey allows for other brothers to see, okay, he was different. Okay, that's cool. So we don't all come from the same path. And it allows us to see things differently as well. And being, like I said, I am part of the leather community. We all know what goes on in that community. So being pansexual, I'll put that word out there. I'm a little bit different. And I've always been transparent about pansexual. So that people understand that it's okay to be fluid sexually within your transition. So that we can learn to accept how we are visibly dating, how we are proactive within our relationships, all relationships, whatever it shall be, and productive within that. I see a lot of TNT relationships, trans men and trans men, Black trans men with Black trans men, Black trans men with gay men, Black trans men with trans women. And I applaud all of that as a trans masculine individual.
Yes.
Because it allows us to step outside that taboo of what really we're supposed to do. And I try to stress this to others who look within our circle of our community when they say, well, you know, it's well, I don't know about that gay thing. Well, I'm not gay. So I know what you're talking about. My sexuality has nothing to do with my gender. And I'm saying that now to all the Black folks watching this now. My sexuality has nothing to do with the man that I am today. The man that I am today evolved from she. She went through a lot. He cried a lot, but she took the blunt for him so that he could live freely and comfortable as he is now. So together we walked a path, and that's why my pronouns are sir, him, and we. Because sometimes she kicks him aside and says, I'll do this for you. And sometimes
that's real.
Right. Sometimes internally, that masculine side of, because we all have that masculine, feminine side, that masculine side of me just says, I can't do it. And the feminine side kicks in and says, hello, on the shoulder, I got you. Now do what you're supposed to do. We have to.
That's real.
Yeah, we have to accept that balanced side of ourselves. We really do. And
that is so real.
Jamal just shared.
That is so real. And that's also a piece of our experience that we don't always talk about, you know.
Right.
That duality that is there sometimes, you know, whether we like it or want it or not, it is real. You know, I walked as female for over 40 years. It's not going to all just evaporate into thin air. That's a piece of me. That's my history. Those were the foundational learning times in my life. So I can't just erase all of that, and I've learned over the years to embrace it. If you see it, well, that really was me. For over 40 years, I got 3 sisters. My father died young, so it was a house full of women. You're going to see that sometimes. It's going to come through. And I've learned to be just as proud of that, as I am of my more authentic self that's here today. So I really, can embrace what it is that you're saying, because that hasn't been an easy process.
No,
That hasn't been an easy process.
we have to understand. I think for me, my journey started early, but my medical journey started when I was 28. We have to understand, and I say this to everyone, as we speak about our past, you're still embracing it. Don't throw it aside. We hear people talk
That's right.
about their past. They may be stealth and may not tell you their story, but if they start telling you their story, they're going to tell you about those patent shoes, and about that. It's Easter coming up, and I'm going to make you all laugh. Every Easter, I think about the Sunday I went to church with my mother, and I got a splinter in my head, and she did my hair, because I had hair back in the day. I had good hair. Just let y'all know I was a
You had hair?
I had long hair. I had real hair, just to let y'all know. It
I'm
wasn't
holding on to every little bit I got.
right.
That's
And because of the splinter, she thought I didn't want to get dressed, but I was a boy. But I did what society said, because I was dealing with me at 5, 6 years old. And I fought,
Yeah.
fought and cried. And she got the splinter out, and my hair was not curly like it was. It was a mess. It was a mess. The dress was wrinkled. And for a long time, my mother said, you just did not want to be dressed up for Easter. I said, I didn't care, because you dressed me up for that day. But Mom, I had a splinter. And when we talk about it, she feels that I just didn't want. I said, no, I did, because that's what I was supposed to do. And I'm saying that for a reason. As I transitioned, and all of us have transitioned, we did what we're supposed to do to live comfortable without conflict. We did what we had to do to be comfortable without conflict. That means even within ourselves. Because when
That's
you're
right.
uncomfortable, people can feel that and sense that, and it adds conflict.
Yes.
As I evolved, I kept that going, because I want to live comfortable without conflict. And as we speak about this with my family, I'm like, I ask these questions, and you all probably have done it as well. Okay, so I've transitioned. You see what I look like now. So what did you think about me then? Did you call? And my family in the North would say, you're just Flex. Okay, so I was Flex. So how did you see me? When we say, did you see me as a girl? No, you were just Flex. I still couldn't get it.
Yeah.
It took me another year, last year, to figure it out. That's a long time. But I realized I was accepted for who I was to be who I am today. It had nothing to do with boy or girl. It was just who I was as a
right.
But when I asked my Southern family, well, you're still our cousin, but okay, we're done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the
Cut them
interesting
off. We're done.
thing.
I don't want to go there.
That's the interesting thing, because I experienced that with my siblings. My siblings are like, no, you never really been a girl. I've never seen you as a girl, but I've never, I guess your sex wasn't questionable. And so, we all call each other, have grown up calling each other sissy, you know what I'm saying? And so that's a thing with us. And so it just changes the way they conceptualize that. And even in that, they're just like, no, I never saw you as a woman. I never saw you that way. And so it's like, well, then what's wrong with these pronouns? And, having to change that term of endearment, that's a struggle. And even in my mom has often said to me things like, I don't know how to refer to you now. I don't know how to have that intimacy that we have now. I don't know how to, is our relationship gone? Like, is that gone now because of this? And I'm like, no, a term of endearment is a term of endearment. You know what I'm saying? But is it necessary that I be feminized in that endearment?
Well, I think a lot of the times they take it personal when it comes to family, because they've interacted with you so long within the lifespan of, your childhood and adulthood, and now you're actually, this is this person or that man or that woman. So a lot of the times it's really it's coming from a personable experience. I didn't mean to cut you off, Dr. T.
No, go ahead. No, I just, I mourn that they feel like something is lost in that, in that, because nothing is lost for me.
Yeah.
And other than just the gendering of the way you must show me that special connection that we have. The gendering is the only thing that I'm just trying to alleviate, not the connection itself. And so there just seems to be that tug of war, that push and pull of we affirm you, trying to help the children understand uncle, uncle, you got to call me uncle. This is uncle now. And, and some are very easily able to do it while others really struggle with doing it. But yet again, I know I'm young in this experience. I know that I am a baby in presenting. And so it's just part of the journey. But things are doing what they're supposed to do. And I'm just in this space of forcing to be patient and waiting and seeing and experiencing, but grateful, grateful.
That's the key, Dr. T. I learned that, and I had to look at my own experience. It took me 50 years to get here. So I can't expect my family to not go through that comfortable conflict dynamic that I had to go through,
And to not flash back if you see a hair of femininity. You know what I mean? Some things are just going to be gay. When I get real excited, and I get
okay.
But see, that's all about us.
When I come in the room, I take up space. That's just me. That's who I am. You know what I mean? And when I'm turned and lit, that's who I am.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's also a part of us. That's also a part of us defining our own masculinity, what it looks like to us. We're going against social.
That's what it is.
Going against social norms. When we embrace the every now and again, okay, or you embrace just the high pitched voice. You embrace all of that. That's part of defining
the picture.
And I'm such a white boy at heart. That's what really is what shocks me with my mode of expression. You know what I mean? Like, I'm blackity black, but I'm a white boy at heart. I got both of the things that come together. You know what I mean? Straight up 25th and Glen in this mug, but at the same time, educated and love that's just who I identify as. Even as a lesbian, I felt like I was an old white man a long time. I just was. And, I'm just different. I'm just different in some ways. But also very black in some ways. Just very black. And I can't help it. And I don't mind. And, and I'm a mixture of those things. And so I don't know who's going to show up sometimes in the conversations, to be honest. But all of those things are authentically who I am and who I have always been. Have always been. And so I'm able to relate to a myriad of people.
That's right. That's that fluidity piece,
Yeah. And for me, as far as sexuality and fluidity and attraction, I've only known to really be attracted to women that are attracted to me. And so that's just kind of been my pathway. And most of the time that has been lesbian. And then here I am learning maybe it's different. Maybe some kind of bisexual thread or something going on in there that I'm not all the way privy to. but am evolving into understanding. And I don't want to put too many people's business out there, but I'm just simply saying I've, just kind of noticed a thread, noticing sometimes when I interact with certain women, I'm too hard for the typical lesbian sometimes. And so it's just like a weird intersection. So for me, I don't know if that's like lesbian or bisexual women. I don't think I'm someone who attracts hetero women, but it is what it is. And I don't consider myself, just because I am now identifying as trans man, I don't consider myself heterosexual. And I'm out here, there's that, people are trying to put you in that very strong box. And so, but that doesn't really relate to me. So, I'm just kind of where I am. Along the spectrum.
Yeah, I think as we evolve as the masculine men that we are, the masculine bodies that we are, the people that we are even our own trans men community, Black trans men community, is learning to accept the fluidity. But for a long time, even you all, when you were younger in transition, Michael and Atram and Jamal, we had brothers that wouldn't even accept that. It was either you had to be very masculine, because the image was, if you're living in the binary, the binary is all this facial hair and the T-shots, and you're living in the binary, you're supposed to be like Uncle Joe and Uncle Pop, or pick somebody you grew up with.
That's right.
And I tell everybody, when you transition, you need to transition to be the man that you so desire to be for you. Because if you're trying to be like JoJo across the street, it's not gonna. No.
And this is another piece. When we get together, we love on each other. We love on each other when we get together. I got trans brothers that are so close to me, their girlfriends get jealous. Okay. So, and it's hard to explain to them, this is a bond that we're not afraid of. But because we understand that tomorrow, one of us may have hit that brick wall.
Yes.
And we might not be here. So we love and we embrace each other, and we're not afraid of that, And I think that's a little piece of the beauty in this duality, that we experience, however it shows up. We've gotten to the point where we've had to be fearful for so long. Mm-hmm. When you finally get liberated, you just ain't scared of a damn thing.
Right.
It just is what it is. I don't mind telling you I love you. I'm so glad to see you. Mm-hmm. All of that is important and is needed. Yep. And then nobody tells you, as you're walking into this like binary representation of male, because that's all we really have to identify it with. Initially, you take your T-shot, you get, a little bit muscular, you get some facial hair, things change, down below. So you got all this going on. But as you continue to journey,
belly.
Don't even talk about that thing. So, but nobody ever explains to you that when you're on T, sometimes during this transition, you begin to experience attractions to people different than you were previously attracted to.
Right.
And nobody, that's like a secret. Nobody says anything. So if you were always attracted to the pretty female, the passive, little wifey kind of little cute little thing. And then all of a sudden, you're looking at another brother going, he kind of cute. And then you're like, where'd that come from? Nobody prepares you for that part of this fluidity, that part of this transition. And that's a real part of it as well.
Mm-hmm. And dealing with that fluidity, we also have to deal with folk in our own community, downing the ones who are accepted and just authentically living themselves and able to embrace
that's
who
right.
they're dealing with.
That's right.
That goes back to the cis community as well, because a lot of
that toxicity,
that toxic talking of just because you're gay or you're open about your sexuality is frowned upon.
That's
I
right.
know
Right.
when
That's
I
right.
started dating trans women, I had got a lot of slack. Like
Mhm.
when I openly said that I am a I was on a panel and it was for NMAC.
Okay.
And I expressed that yes, I'm a heterosexual male. Interested in females, and that includes trans women. But
Mm.
what I was doing was advocating for my sisters because they're always being put in the male sleeping with male
Mhm.
category, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that was a part of me just advocating. But when I did that, it just it just people were like, why you want to deal with somebody? Then they were like, what do y'all do? I'm like,
Right.
what do you
Yeah.
Right.
do? It's
And
none of your
I know
business, right?
to make it even funnier, not to cut you off, Action, but it's like I heard it come back to me was like somebody said, I couldn't believe, but I could believe you could Flex, but I couldn't believe Action. I said, well, he's his own man. Yeah,
Right.
but I could believe you do, that because I was like, look, he's his own man, okay? And they were just like, but I said, don't worry about it. He's at you. He has his life. But that's my brother, your brother. Support him
Mhm.
either way, because one day along the line, he's going to need to have to talk to somebody
Mhm.
Right.
and he's going to have to vent, and we're going to have to be there to hold him up. But it was
Right.
funny how they tried to put me under the bus. I believe you would, but not Action. I said,
Mhm.
but that's okay because
That's right.
I love you as my brother, and whatever you do, like I tell them, you do what you do. But if you need to talk to me, we're gonna talk. And I
Right.
tell
Mhm.
everybody, it's not for us to agree or disagree. It's for us to learn difference. And then when you
Mhm.
learn difference, then you learn to accept the difference.
Right.
Because we're not meant here to agree or disagree. We're here to learn.
That's
Right.
And the
right.
more we learn from each other, the more empowering we become as a group of individuals. The more
Mhm.
we become each other's an asset to each other. You know, the birds and the trees and the flowers and the sun and the moon, they're an asset to the earth. We're part of the earth. We're just a large organism. And because of that, we are an asset to each other. We have to become that asset. And that's where being visible and being proactive and productive comes in. It doesn't matter what level you're doing that on, but at least try.
That's
Right.
right.
And I'm going to go back to Ajam because one thing I really, really respect Ajam is that there is something that he does as an advocate, and that's in a field of um, uh, um, wellness, under a term of wellness. And he's put himself out there to educate brothers regarding that as well. And you go ahead and explain it, Ajam, a little bit.
Well, as I had mentioned earlier, with me being sexually assaulted, I ended up with HIV. And in with that narrative, I was told that I was the only trans man who had HIV in the Washington D.C. area. They told me that the trans male community is not at risk. But Lord and behold, guess what? I am HIV positive, so therefore I am at risk. So therefore my brothers are at risk. So as I was learning about the HIV virus, um, and being able to live well with it,
Come on.
I was I was being taught on how to advocate not just for myself, but for others. When I was asking questions, I found out I was asking questions for somebody else.
Right.
So, and it didn't dawn on me until I went to a BTEC event, and he's my son now. He was my brother, but now he's my son. Because I embrace all the guys who are HIV positive, and so I am their black dad when it comes to the HIV field, and being able to educate and uplift them and elevate them and give them encouragement when it's needed, and sometimes I need it too, right?
That's right.
So with me, learning about it, I I I just became an advocate. I'm also with Positively Trans. I am the national I'm on their national advisory board. I'm the founder of DC Transmen Rising, which is now Transmen Rising, because I wanted to go nationwide, and it is international because I know brothers who are HIV positive who are in Africa.
Mhm.
Now, when I went to Amsterdam for a convention conference, every time I think about this, it just brings tears to my eyes, and it just makes me feel good inside. So they're happy tears. When I tell you those brothers embrace me like no other, and I was like, I was feeling so proud to be around brothers from Ghana, just every part of Africa that came, right? Do you know they circled around me and told me it is because of you that I'm here.
Wow.
Wow.
It's because of you I am here. We know that when we found out you were coming, we were so excited. And I'm
Wow.
like, I didn't realize how much of an impact that I had. And like this young cat came to BTEC. He asked me questions. He was just asking me questions, and I'm thinking he's asking me questions because he wants to know how I deal with things. But Lord and behold, he was asking those questions without trying to out himself about being HIV positive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And it wasn't until like 2 years later, he came to me. He was like, you remember when I was asking you about those questions and everything? I said, yeah. And I thought I was, you just wanted to know how I dealt with it. Was I in good spirits dealing with it? What was my challenges? Because I told him all of that. I laid it down the line. I said, yeah, there'll be some women that's going to accept you. There's going to be some women that's not going to accept you. Guys, I find out the guys will accept you more so than the women will. Because when everybody knew that I dealt with women, but these guys were coming on to me like no other. And I'm like, yo, dog, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just letting him know, what the experience is. But I told him, I said, it wasn't until I started loving myself. I had to learn how to love myself. Already had to teach myself to learn how to love myself, because growing up, I um was in a household that was very abusive, mentally, physically, spiritually,
Mm.
everything. And that's how I was suicidal. That's how I used to cut myself. You never hear about black guys cutting themselves,
Right.
but I was one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why Blake was able to relate to me, because I opened up that door to have that conversation with him when we were down in North Carolina, and there was a movie that was being played, and he was like, I just feel like I don't want to be here. And
Wow.
nobody heard that man.
Mm.
Nobody heard that man. And he repeated it 4 times. 4 times.
Wow.
Until we actually heard him. So basically, on the health aspect, there's so much that I have to let out on my life,
Mhm.
so that the young ones that's coming behind me was like, okay, if I become HIV positive, I could still live a full life.
Right.
HIV positive. If I take this one pill or I take this medicine that is prevention,
Right.
I could become undetectable, which means that no matter who I have sex with, I will not pass the virus on to them.
Right.
You equals you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things that we have to be able to. Everybody is not going to be on the same path. Everybody is not meant to be there to tell the story or to be out there fighting and protesting. Like Dr. T, he is on the battlefield through education,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and by him, he's a weapon of mass destruction because he's able to break down the barrier walls
Mm-hmm.
within the educational system.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Then we have brothers like Mike, as well as myself, in the spiritual and in the religious aspect. I'm more spiritual than I am religion.
Me too.
Sometimes I'm the cousin minister,
Me
but
too.
let's keep it real
That's right.
because I am human.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people I'm no saint. I am human, and I'm gonna come to you, meet you where you are, so that you can understand, and we could both relate. You can relate to what I'm saying, and
Right.
I can relate to what you are coming at me with, whatever problem you have. And that's why Blake was able to gravitate to me and Ovid because we were real with him.
Mhm.
You know, he was kind of standoffish when it came to getting to know people. He had a glow about him,
He sure
a,
did,
a, a
didn't
real powerful personality. But
he?
when
Yep.
it came down to it, Lil Youngin, he did it.
Mm-hmm.
He was out there protesting. We
Yep.
need people like that
Yep.
at a young age out there
He
protesting.
was.
And not only that, he was the first homecoming king in
School.
any
Any school.
school in the United States of America to be the first trans man homecoming king.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, and then with going back to my son, the other son, he was like, I just wanted to let you know that I'm HIV positive.
Wow.
So,
Hmm.
with that being said, and then I was right there when he was at BTEC. I'm not going to shout his name out or anything like that
No.
because that's his business.
Right.
But he is a rising star right now. Well, ever since he came out and told everybody in the room, and I was right there standing with, I felt it coming, but I wasn't sure when it was coming, but I felt it coming. And I was right there when he told the whole entire room in the conference, everybody at that conference, that I am HIV positive. And I have been advocating it low, but at the same time, now I'm standing proud to tell everybody that's where I'm at in life.
I know who it is. We're
So
not going to mention
that's
any
the
names. I know
reason
exactly.
why I do what I do.
Yeah. And that's the same individual that has told in others that I was the first trans man he saw that assisted them with their journey. So, actually, you and I have had a lot of impact for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And I'm just joyful that I was able to assist others with finding that, hey, that's who I am. And just to let the young ones know that when you get old like me,
Like
you
me.
get old like me, I didn't get old and handsome like this for a long time. I advocate for wellness. I advocate for taking care of yourself and being stable. That is why Fifth Avenue does exist. Um, I tell everybody, take care of yourself. Go to your doctors, get your physician. I know we have our own issues about our bodies, but our bodies is what we have. Our bodies is what allows us to live and make and move and shake what we got to do in life, period. And in order to be stable and to be healthy, you need to go to your doctors, get those physicals, get everything. I know it's very embarrassing. It's very uncomfortable. But you know what? This is my body. This is what
Yeah.
I have to feed every day. And if
That's
I'm
right.
not happy the way I feel, I have to take care of what's going on. And if I have to go to a doctor, get my body checked, we know some of us have this foyer for the downstairs, the bottom half of our bodies. But I mean, we just got to do what we got to do with the tool, with what we got. I'm just going to be honest with you. So it's a whole different level for a lot of us. But let me tell you, I want to see everybody. I love everyone in this world. My grandmother said something to me: you can always love the world, but the world is not going to love you back. But I will say
That's right.
this, I will always say this. I love each and every one of you. And those of you out there that I do not know, I've not met, I want to see you tomorrow. I want to see you tomorrow. And that's why we have Realist Reality here with my brothers speaking and talking and sharing their experiences and just letting you know we go through it. We're older, we were going through it, but you can get through it and we're here for you. And if you know anyone that is in the Black trans men community, reach out to each other more than you have been. Call them. Stop texting people because texting is so unpersonable. Call
Yeah, it's
them,
very
check on them,
impersonal.
see how they're doing,
Yeah.
laugh for a while, gossip to each other, keep your secrets together. That's what brothers do. Talk, laugh, giggle, hang out together. I mean, you know, I've hung out with Dr. D. I've hung out with all these gentlemen here. And, you know, sometimes there's a shopping spree out there and we just go shopping, don't know what we're doing. But
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say, you know, we're here, and there's other gentlemen out there. There's other Michaels out there. There's other Flexes out there. There's other Adjums out there. There's other Jamals, other Dr. T's out there. Find them, gravitate to them. Say, look, I don't know anybody else. Can we just kind of be friends? Please stay close to me because I'm gonna need this. Because they know you're gonna need it. We all
Yeah.
know what we go through as trans men in this Black community, Black and brown space. We know what we go through. We know what we deal with. We deal with so much, even from the Black and brown community, that it's harder on us in a lot of ways. And I just want everyone, before we close, to at least give a word of encouragement, anything that may help someone out there before we close. Okay, Michael.
I would like to say again that as we do a retrospect about our own personal journeys and all the dynamics that we had to go through to get here to this most authentic place, that we give some love, some patience to others that are close in our circle that have to journey to try to meet us at a place where we can hold on to some semblance of connection, of family, because it's hurtful.
Yeah.
It's hurtful. But if you can get past that and extend to them what the universe extended to us for us to be here today, it would just help when you're able to come together, because my family did that for me. It took them a while, but I had to be in a position to be receiving as they journeyed. And that's what allowed us to be able to connect again in this space. So it does happen. I'm a witness that it can have a happy ending.
Adjum?
Be good to yourself. Embrace your entire journey. Know that you're going to have difficulties. You're going to have some good days. You're going to have some bad days. But also know that you're loved, that you are created by love, even though there are certain people that might not accept you. Learn to accept yourself, because once you accept yourself, others will be able to follow behind you, and they can give you the love and appreciation that you need. Don't be afraid to reach out. And I'm talking to myself too. Don't be afraid to reach out
Yes.
when you are in a dark place. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. There's others out here who care for you. You're not alone. Yes, I've learned that the South is not all that is cracked up to be. It's an entire different animal from being up north.
Yeah.
Trust and believe, I know. I'm a living witness to that. Now, I always wondered why you guys in the South was saying, I'm stealth. And I always was like one of those that be like, but you're not proud of who you are. You don't want people to know who you, but I understand. And I
Yeah.
apologize wholeheartedly because I understand. I understand. I do. I get it. I'm
Me
sorry
too.
that I didn't before, but I
Me too.
get it.
I get it now.
I get it now. Trust and believe. I get it. I'm
Uh,
standing with you
and it's
in the
hard.
gap, just like our brothers are on this line. I get it. I love you.
We love you too.
And just because you are in community and you are a brother, whether you are transmasculine film, whatever you are, non-binary, ungender conforming, just know that you're loved. Keep living your life and give up the good fight. Just keep fighting until you can't fight no more. Know that this battle is not yours alone. We are all in this together, and we can make a difference together by
That's right.
coming together, and we need to stop all of this bullshit of this cliquish stuff,
Yes.
because
Mhm.
it's more to
That's
us.
trauma. Yeah, that's trauma.
We are powerful by numbers,
Yeah.
and not individuality. There's no I in team, because right now we are all a team. We have to be better, and we have to step up, show out, and do what we need to do. The trans sisters, they doing their own thing, and it's time for us to do our own thing. We have been doing our own thing, but we need to stand strong in our brotherhood,
That's right.
because the brotherhood is not there. And
It
I'm gonna put
hasn't
it
been
out
there.
there. It's not.
It hasn't been there.
It's not there. And we have to do better. We cannot like each other, but we should be able to work with each other
Mm-hmm.
and still love one another without liking. We
Right.
can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have to say. I love you, and just know that you are important to me, and you should be important to yourself, because there are other people who are looking out and they see you. You might not know how much of an impact you are giving them, but by you living your life,
That's
you are
right.
helping to save a life.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Awesome. Dr. T?
Yeah, I just would say, kind of similar to what Achim was saying about being good to yourself, but being kind to yourself. Survive. Um,
Yes. Yes.
be authentic about how you feel and who you are, but know your situations, know your circumstances, understand your consequences and risks, understand everything that there is that you are facing along this journey, and be thoughtful and take care of yourself and your mental health. And even in this trans journey, regardless of how young or old you may begin, get therapy if you can. Even if you may have to pay a little bit out of pocket, get therapy, get assistance, or find resources that are free. But do it because there's just so much. There's just so much to this process.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that we don't even anticipate being able to know are going to be questions. There are things that we can't know that are going to come up. And so often, like we say before, we talk so much about our physical aspects of change, but we really don't talk enough about the emotional part of this journey. And even when you know who you are, shedding the skin of how you've been, raised in society, how you have been, conditioned to be, and working through that and being free in that. Getting free of those things is an emotional process that oftentimes leaves us very vulnerable in spaces. And then to find that grounding and to understand what it is to be affirmed in that and in the journey. And so, you said some really powerful things about just kind of loving yourself and knowing that sometimes it's just you. Sometimes it's just going to be you in this. And you have to know that you know that you know, in a way that even on the days that when you don't know, there's pieces of you that still know. And it's so profoundly freeing and frighteningly terrifying at the same time on some days, because we just can't always see every bend in the road. So, just like Flex said, you got to have that therapeutic support and that spiritual support. You have to have both pieces to navigate this journey. You have to have good friends who are anchors that, regardless of who you show up as, are the same to you. And you have to have a God, what's the way to describe it? An unyielding bravery. You have to have a level of bravery as you walk this journey.
Yep.
That, like I said, you don't even know how strong your own armor is. You're gonna have to tap into a level of bravery in some spaces. Some places you thought were going to be horrible, there are going to be some places that are more horrible than you could have ever thought. So you have to tap into your bravery, because people are not going to want you to be free. And people are not going to understand why your freedom looks like this, or why it should be this way, and why these things are important. So continue to affirm yourself, continue to get the support that is needed, as well as be kind to your heart in this. Love freely, but love smartly. Love fully, but you know what I'm saying? Know thyself through this process, and allow yourself evolution, and allow your tastes and your everything to evolve too. So, but yeah, just really being authentic and genuine, and knowing that your journey looks like you and you alone, and rest in that, and be okay in that you don't have to compare it to other people's, that it's not a timeline to it, or a finish line that matches anybody else's experience.
Jamal?
Okay, I'm gonna keep it short because we are on time. But for me, it's going to be just mastering self-care and acknowledging that it's okay to be vulnerable within yourself, and just making sure that the brotherhood and sisterhood, there's that bond. Don't break that bond, but keep that bond as your brother or sister within our community.
Awesome. And this is from Flex himself. Remember to love yourself, be true to yourself, and always know yourself first and always. And know that we are here as a community. You are part of a bigger family than you've ever had in your life. And if you need any of us, you know to reach out. You know where to find me at google.com. If my mama can find me, anybody can. You all have a great evening, my brothers. Thank you so much. It has been a joy to have this conversation, but I'm getting ready to call you all, send you a pizza, and we're going to talk about it all over again on another day. I thank you, and I thank everyone that has been watching. feel free to communicate with us. I think you can Google most of us. You can look for Nested Beats of Path. You can also look for Fifth Avenue Alliance. Michael, do you have an organization as well?
No, not right now, but it's coming. It's
All right.
coming.
Atcham,
Okay.
I think they can find Atcham because if he's a spokesperson, he's doing what he's doing. He's good. And Dr. T, I think they can find you somewhere along the line because you guys are awesome brothers.
I'm on Facebook, but I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat as Kappa Brat too. So,
Right.
but I'm on Facebook as Tika Douthat. So you can find me there.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. It's great to have you here. I do appreciate you. Brothers, stand by as we close out. I do thank you.
Thank you.